The bell above the door chimed like a gunshot in the hush of the afternoon drizzle, and there she stood, framed in the gray light of Monroe's endless Oregon rain. Leora Hale, my first love, the ghost I had buried under layers of black coffee and forced smiles. She wore my old scarf, the one I'd woven from thrift store wool 10 years ago, its frayed edges brushing her collar like a whispered accusation, and in that instant, the air thickened with the scent of wet pine and betrayal. "Ariella," she said, her voice a low tremor that sliced through the steam. "I kept it because it was the only piece of you that didn't run." I dropped the mug. Porcelain shattered against the oak floorboards, shards scattering like the fragments of our last night together, when her father's shotgun words had chased me out of their sprawling Victorian on Elm Street. The Café, Haven Brew, my sanctuary in this forgotten corner of the Willamette Valley, had been empty save for old Mr. Harlan nursing his decough in the corner booth, his newspaper folding slowly as if to shield his eyes from the unfolding drama. But I felt exposed, raw, as if the rain outside had seeped through the walls and drenched my bones. Leora didn't move, just stood there with water beating on her lashes, her coat unbuttoned to reveal the scarf's faded blue knots against a cream blouse that screamed city polish amid our town's Rust Belt decay. 10 years. A decade of silence that had carved me hollow, from the girl who dreamed of escaping Monroe's suffocating grip to the woman who owned this place, pouring lattes for loggers and housewives who whispered about that spinster Ariella Voss behind their scones. I'd built walls here high and unyielding. The chalkboard menu scrawled with seasonal specials, the mismatched chairs salvaged from estate sales, the jazz records spinning low on rainy days like this one. Monroe wasn't forgiving to outliers. Its clapboard houses sagged under the weight of old money and older grudges, where the Hales represented the untouchable elite, their lumber fortune built on timber barons who clear-cut the forests and left scars deeper than any blade. Leora had been their golden daughter, heir to the sawmills and the sprawling estate that overlooked the valley like a watchful sentinel. And me? Ariella Voss, daughter of a mill worker who drank himself into an early grave and a seamstress who mended hems for the very families who looked down on us. Our worlds collided in the summer of 15, behind the bleachers at Monroe High's last football game, her hand slipping into mine under the roar of the crowd, her breath warm against my ear as she confessed what we'd both known since freshman year. This pull between us wasn't friendship, it was fire. We stole moments in the shadowed orchards, her laughter echoing against apple trees heavy with forbidden fruit, my fingers tracing the curve of her jaw in the cab of my rusted pickup. But Monroe's eyes were everywhere. Gossip in the feed store, sermons laced with warnings from the Baptist steeple, and when her father found us, his rage was a storm that uprooted everything. "You think you can turn my girl?" he'd bellowed, his face purpled like overripe plums, the veins in his neck bulging as he loomed in the Hale kitchen, where Leora and I had shared our first kiss over stolen sips of her mother's Chardonnay. I'd fled that night, scarf forgotten on the hook by the door, my heart a bruised thing I carried back to the trailer park on the edge of town. Leora didn't follow. Not then. Letters went unanswered, calls blocked, and by fall, she was gone to Vassar, her absence a void that echoed through every empty booth in what would become my café. Now here she was, stepping over the shards I'd yet to sweep, her boots leaving muddy prints on the welcome mat. "I didn't mean to startle you," she murmured, eyes flicking to the broken mug, then back to mine. Those hazel depths I'd once drowned in, now shadowed by lines that spoke of boardrooms and bad decisions. She looked older, sharper, like the city had honed her edges, but the scarf. God, the scarf. It was a relic, moth-eaten at the hems, the color bled from too many washes, yet she wore it like armor, or perhaps a flag of surrender. I straightened, wiping my hands on my apron, the fabric starched from mornings spent ironing away the night's doubts. 10 years, Leora. You picked today to waltz in like nothing's changed. My voice cracked, betraying the tremor in my chest, but I held her gaze, refusing to let the rain or the past wash me away again. She glanced around at the fern-green walls I'd painted myself, the bookshelf crammed with dog-eared copies of Whitman and Woolf, the faint hum of Ella Fitzgerald crooning from the speakers. "It hasn't, not really. Monroe's still the same trap it always was. The same stares, the same whispers." Her fingers toyed with the scarf's fringe, a nervous habit I remembered from stolen afternoons in the library stacks, where we'd hide behind biographies of outcasts and dream of New York lights. Mr. Harlan cleared his throat, folding his paper with deliberate slowness. "Everything all right here, Ari?" His voice was gravelly, laced with the protectiveness of a town elder who'd watched me scrape by after my mother's stroke left her bedridden in the county home. "Fine, Harlan. Just an old friend." The words tasted like ash, but I forced a smile, the one I'd perfected for tourists who mistook our drizzle for charm. He nodded, tipping his cap before shuffling out into the downpour, the bell chiming his exit like a punctuation mark on my unraveling. Leora slid onto a stool, her coat draped over the back, releasing a faint whiff of lavender and something sharper, cologne that wasn't hers, masculine and fleeting. "A latte, black. Like always." She said it softly, as if testing the waters, and I turned to the machine, the grind of beans a temporary roar against the questions clawing up my throat. As the steam hissed, memories flooded in unbidden. Her hand in mine at the county fair, fireworks blooming overhead like false promises. The way she'd cry after her father's tirades, whispering that one day we'd leave, build a life where love wasn't a dirty word. But Vassar had changed her, or so the postcards suggested. Brief notes from her early years away, filled with art exhibits and autumn leaves, tapering off when she transferred to Columbia Law. I'd heard rumors through the grapevine, engagement to a Hale ally's son, a merger disguised as matrimony. Thomas Whitaker, heir to the Whitaker Vineyards up in the hills. Their wedding splashed across the society pages of the Portland Oregonian 5 years back. No invitation for me, of course. Just a hollow ache that I'd drowned in double shifts at the diner before buying this place with a small business loan and sheer stubborn will. I slid the cup across the counter, foam heart blooming on the surface like irony. "What brings you back? Family business? Or did the city finally chew you up?" She sipped, eyes closing for a beat, as if savoring more than caffeine. "Both. Father's ill, cancer stage 4. The estate's a mess, lawyers circling like vultures. And Thomas." Her voice trailed, fingers tightening on the mug. "We're separated. Have been for months." The words hung, heavy as the rain pattering the roof. Separated. A door cracked open or a trapdoor to deeper falls. I leaned on the counter, the wood cool under my palms. "I'm sorry. About your dad. He was formidable." A ghost of a laugh escaped her. "Formidable. That's one way. He never forgave me, you know. For us. Called it a phase, a rebellion against his empire." Her eyes met mine then, raw and searching. "But I never stopped thinking about you, Ari. That scarf? It's been in my drawer all these years, pulled out on nights when the silence got too loud." My pulse thrummed a dangerous rhythm. The cafe felt smaller, the world outside fading to a watercolor blur. "Thinking doesn't fix what's broken, Leora. You chose then. What makes now different?" She reached across, her hand hovering near mine, close enough to feel the heat but not touching. "Everything. And nothing. I came to say goodbye to the girl I left behind. But seeing you, it's like waking from a long cold sleep." The bell chimed again, customers trickling in, shaking off umbrellas, their chatter a buffer against the pull between us. I pulled back, busying myself with orders, but her presence lingered, a current under the surface, stirring sediments I'd long let settle. As the afternoon waned, she stayed, nursing her latte into evening, our conversation weaving through safe topics. The new microbrewery on Main, the floods that swallowed half the orchards last spring. But beneath it the undercurrent raged. Questions unspoken, regrets like thorns. By closing, the rain had eased to a mist, street lamps haloing the puddles in amber pools. I flipped the sign to close, the lock clicking with finality. Leora rose, scarf loose around her neck. "Walk with me. Just to the corner." I hesitated, then nodded, grabbing my coat from the hook. The air outside was crisp, scented with damp earth and distant wood smoke. We strolled in silence at first, boots splashing softly, the Victorian looming ahead like a monolith. At the fork where our paths would diverge, hers to the Hale estate, mine to the modest bungalow I'd bought with Café profits, she stopped. "I lied," she said, voice barely above the whisper of leaves. "About the separation. Thomas knows. About us. He found letters I kept, yours from before. Threatened to tell the firm, the family. It's over, but the fallout. It's ugly." My breath caught. Letters. The ones I'd poured my soul into, sealed with trembling hands and mailed to a dorm I prayed she'd still claim. Why tell me now? Because I can't carry it alone anymore. And because, Ariella, I never stopped loving you. Not for a day. Her words landed like embers on dry tinder. I stepped closer, the space between us electric, and for a moment, the world narrowed to her face, the scarf wool brushing my knuckles as I touched it. Our lips met, then tentative, then fierce. A decade's hunger unleashed in the mist-shrouded street. It was salt and sweetness, apology and absolution, her hands framing my face as if I might vanish again. But Monroe watched. From shadowed porches, from the glow of televisions behind lace curtains. And as we parted breathless, I felt the first stirrings of the storm to come. The town's judgment, her family's wrath, the fragile bridge we'd just rebuilt over an abyss. That night, alone in my bed, the scarf's phantom weight lingered on my skin. Sleep evaded me, chased by visions of what-ifs. A life unlived, a love unclaimed. Little did I know dawn would bring the first crack. The anonymous note slipped under the cafe door, scrawled in block letters. We know what you are. Leave while you can. The note burned in my pocket all morning, its edges curling like the doubt it sowed. I crumpled it before unlocking Haven Brew, the key turning with a resistance that mirrored my own. Customers filtered in, farmers with calloused hands clutching thermoses, young mothers herding toddlers toward the pastry case, their normalcy a stark contrast to the chaos brewing in my veins. Leora hadn't called, hadn't texted, but her kiss echoed, a phantom pressure that made every pore unsteady, every smile brittle. By noon the lunch rush had peaked and ebbed, leaving me to wipe counters and replay the night in loops. The taste of her, rain slick and urgent, the way her eyes had held mine stripped bare. I'd loved her fiercely once, with the reckless abandon of youth, but time had taught caution. Monroe's underbelly was laced with venom, whispers that could curdle milk, jobs lost to innuendo, families torn by unspoken shames. My mother, bedbound in her nursing home, had warned me once, her voice frail over the phone. Keep your head down, Ella. This town's got teeth. I did mostly. Dated discreetly in Portland, women who understood the drill, weekends away, no strings, no traces. But Leora was different. She was the origin story, the fracture line. And now with her back, the fault threatened to shift. The bell chimed mid-afternoon, jolting me from reverie. Not Leora, but Tessa Langford, my barista and reluctant confidant, her ponytail swinging as she shrugged off her rain jacket. Tessa was Monroe-born like me, 28, sharp-tongued, with a sociology degree gathering dust while she slung espressos and dreamed of Seattle galleries. We'd bonded over late-night closes, sharing stories of small-town cages. Her brother's meth spiral, my unspoken losses. Rough night? She asked, eyeing the faint shadows under my eyes as she tied her apron. You look like you wrestled a ghost and lost. I forced a laugh, handing her the rag. Something like that. Old flame blew in with the storm. Her brows arched, genuine curiosity sparking. Spill. Is it that professor from Eugene you mooned over last spring? Worse. First love. The one who got away because her daddy played God. The words slipped out lighter than intended, but Tessa's face sobered, her hands pausing on the steamer. Leora Hale? Holy shit, Ari. She's back? After the vanishing act. Tessa knew the broad strokes, enough to whistle low and shake her head. That family's poison. Her old man's probably still got that Bible verse tattooed on his knuckles. Thou shalt not. I nodded, the note's weight pressing anew. Should I tell her? Tessa was loyal, but leaks in Monroe spread like wildfire. Instead, I busied us with prep. Grinding beans, slicing lemon scones, the rhythm a bomb. But as the afternoon dragged, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw you last night. With her. Careful, Voss. Some sins don't wash out. Chill spidered down my spine. I deleted it, but the poison lingered. Who? A neighbor? Someone from the fair crowd? Eyes sharp in the dark? Monroe thrived on such surveillance, its social strata rigid as petrified wood. The Hales and Whitakers at the apex, us working folk the roots holding it up, and below the outcasts, the addicts, the queers, the dreamers who dared too much. By shift's end, resolve hardened. I texted Leora, we need to talk. My place. 8. Her reply was swift. On my way. Bring wine. My bungalow crouched at the town's frayed edge. A 1920s craftsman with peeling sage paint, and a porch swing that creaked like confessions. I'd poured savings into it. New roof, herb garden out back, making it mine after years in the trailer that smelled of despair. Leora arrived as dusk bruised the sky. Her car a sleek Audi that screamed outsider amid the pickups. She carried a bottle of Pinot from Whitaker Vineyards, irony wrapped in cork. We settled on the swing, glasses clinking under the canopy of dripping maples. The wine warmed loosening tongues. She spoke first, of Vassar days haunted by my absence, of law school as armor against her father's expectations. I thought marrying Thomas would fix it, make me normal, make him proud. But it was a cage, Ari. Polished but still bars. And the letters? I asked, voice steady despite the ache. You kept them. She nodded, eyes on the valley below, where lights flickered like distant stars. In a box under the bed. Thomas found them packing for a business trip. That was really him fleeing to his mistress in Napa. He didn't rage, just looked at me like I was a stranger. Said the Hales couldn't afford scandal. Not with father's health tanking the shares. Betrayals echo, his, hers, ours. I set my glass down, turning to her. Someone saw us last night. Notes, texts. Monroe's waking up. Her face paled, but she reached for my hand, interlacing fingers with a fierceness that belied her tremor. Let them. I'm done hiding. For you, for us, if you'll have me. The kiss that followed was slower, deeper, wine-tinged and deliberate, her body yielding against mine on the swing's gentle sway. We moved inside, shedding coats and cautions, the bedroom a sanctuary of flannel sheets and candlelight. Her skin was memory made real, soft hollows I'd mapped in youth, now traced with reverence. Love-making as reclamation, gasps mingling with rain's patter, her whispers of I'm sorry dissolving into moans of now. After tangled in sheets, she traced my collarbone. Remember the orchard? That summer we swore we'd run to Portland, open a bookshop cafe hybrid. I smiled into her hair. With a loft above, shelves to the ceiling. You arguing cases by day. Me brewing freedom in cups. We can still. Father's will is contested, cousins circling. But if I fight, I inherit enough to start over. With you. Hope flickered, fragile as moth wings. But dawn brought reality. A call from the nursing home. Mother's fever had spiked. Pneumonia, they said. I dressed in haste, Leora stirring with concern. Go. I'll handle the cafe. Tessa arrived early, her eyes narrowing at the rumpled throw on the couch. She stayed over? Damn, Ari. This is next level. Keep it quiet, I murmured, grabbing keys. But as I drove the winding road to Willow Creek home, another text pinged. Hail Horan trailer trash. Town hall tonight. Truth comes out. The meeting was routine, zoning for a new strip mall, but tension crackled like static. I slipped in late, mother stable but weak in my thoughts, taking a back pew. Then Mayor Ellis called order, his voice booming. Public comments on the Whitaker-Hale merger proposal. Thomas Whitaker rose, slick in his suit, face a mask of civility. It's progress, folks. Jobs, revenue. But some folks. His eyes scanned, landing on me with predatory gleam. Some resist change. Cling to old ways that don't fit our community values. Murmurs rippled. Then Leora stood from the front row, her posture regal. Mr. Mayor, as a Hale, I support the merger. But not at the cost of silencing voices. Monroe's strength is its people, not its prejudices. The room hushed. Thomas's jaw tightened. Leora, this isn't. It is, she cut in, voice steel. My marriage to Thomas was a lie, built on expectations that crushed us both. And my past, with Ariella Voss, was love, pure as any you've blessed in church. Gasps, then chaos, whispers erupting like gunfire. Eyes turned to me, hot and accusing. I stood, heart pounding, meeting her gaze across the aisle. She's right. We've hidden long enough. Monroe can grow, or it can rot in its judgments. The mayor banged his gavel, adjourning in frenzy. Outside, rain lashed anew, Leora finding me under the awning. I couldn't let him twist it. You just burned every bridge, I said, half in awe, half terror. For us. She pulled me close, heedless of stares. But as we walked to my truck, a figure emerged from shadows, Thomas flanked by two Hale cousins, faces thunderous. "You think this ends it?" he snarled. "Fathers will leaves you nothing if scandal taints the name." Leora's chin lifted. "Then disown me. I'm free." He laughed bitter. "Free? With her? You'll be beggars in Portland, whispering in alleys." The word stung Class's cold blade. But as they drove off, tires spitting gravel, Leora turned to me. "He's wrong. We'll build something real." That night, over takeout in my kitchen, we planned selling the cafe, her stake in the estate for seed money. Excitement hummed a rare light. But sleep brought dreams. Orchards aflame, mother's frail hand waving me back. Morning shattered it. Tessa burst in, face ashen. "Ari, the bank's calling in your loan. Irregularities, they say. And the health department, inspection tomorrow, unannounced. Sabotage. Thomas's reach or the town's." Fear coiled, but Leora's arm around me steadied. "Fight it. Together." Yet as I faced the inspector, citing code violations that hadn't existed yesterday, doubt crept. Was love worth this war? The cafe, my anchor, teetered. And in the quiet hours, Leora's phone buzzed incessantly. Family pleas, lawyer warnings. Cracks forming unseen. The inspection dragged like a sentence. The health official, a stern woman named Hargrove from Salem, poking at shelves with gloved disdain, her clipboard a gavel. "Mold in the storage room, Voss. And these pipes? Non-compliant since the 90s. Her tone dripped implication, as if my sins were etched in rust. I swallowed protest, knowing appeals cost time I didn't have. "It's cosmetic. I've maintained. Cosmetic gets you closed. 30 days to remediate or padlock." She sealed the notice with a stamp's thud, echoing my pulse. Outside, Tessa waited, arms crossed. "Bullshit. I cleaned that room last week. Someone tipped them. Thomas. Or a cousin eager to purge the Hale stain." I nodded, numb, locking up early. The cafe haven felt like a wounded thing, its warmth leached by fluorescent doubt. Leora met me at the bungalow, her embrace fierce. "We'll contest it. My firm's resources." "Your firm?" I pulled back, the irony sharp. "The one that reps Whitaker interests? They'll bury me." Her face fell, realization dawning. "I resigned this morning. Clean break. Relief ward with grief. And the estate? Your father. Stable for now. But the cousins are pushing probate, painting me the prodigal. It's a siege, Ari. We fortified as best we could. Calls to inspectors, loans from sympathetic farmers, Tessa rallying locals with a petition that gathered signatures like kindling. Monroe's divide sharpened. Some crossed the street, averting eyes. Others slipped 20s into the jar, muttering, "Hang in there, girl." Old Mr. Harlan led a breakfast boycott of the diner, his toast pointed. Hales think money buys silence. Not this time. Nights blurred into strategy sessions on my porch, wine giving way to coffee as resolve hardened. Leora opened up more, Vassar isolation, law school as penance, Thomas's affairs a mirror to her own suppressed truths. "I betrayed you by staying silent," she confessed one evening, stars pricking the ink-black sky. "Wrote letters I never sent, imagining you reading them in this very swing." I traced her knuckles, scarred from childhood falls in the orchards. And I built walls, thinking love was a luxury I couldn't afford. But here we are. Intimacy deepened, not just bodies but souls. Sharing playlists of Joni Mitchell and Brandi Carlile, walks along the river where salmon leaped like escaped dreams. Yet shadows lengthened. Mother's condition worsened. I drove to Willow Creek daily, her room a sterile cage of beeps and wilted flowers. "Proud of you, Ella," she rasped one afternoon, her hand birdbone in mine. "For fighting. Don't let them dim your light." Tears blurred the drip. "Like you didn't? With Dad's debts," the whispers. She smiled faintly. "Love's the fight worth losing sleep over. Remember that." Her words armored me for the town hall rematch 2 weeks in. The chamber swelled, air thick with damp coats and anticipation. Mayor Ellis fidgeted as petitions piled high, over 200 names, a testament to quiet alliances. Thomas spoke first, polished venom. "This cafe's a symptom. Bosses. Indiscretions threaten our moral fabric. The merger brings prosperity, Distractions divide. Booze rippled, surprising even me. Then Leora rose, unflinching. Indiscretions? Try truths. My family profited from this land's bones. Logged it bare, squeezed workers dry. Ariella's Café feeds souls, not egos. Close it and you close hope. Applause thundered, chaotic. A farmer stood. Hales owe us wages from '08 bust. Voss don't. More voices joined, a chorus of grievances long banked. Thomas flushed, retreating. But as the vote loomed, extension granted, barely, the real blow landed post-meeting. In the parking lot, under sodium lamps, Leora's phone erupted. Her father, summoning her home. Alone, the message read. I drove her, the estate's gates yawning like jaws. Inside, the Hale Manor unfolded in opulent decay. Crystal chandeliers dimmed, Persian rugs frayed. Elias Hale lay propped in a leather armchair, oxygen hissing softly, his once bellowing frame shrunk into whispers. Leora knelt, but he waved her off, eyes, hazel like hers, fixing on me in the doorway. You, he croaked, voice a rasp of old sawdust. The ruin. I stepped forward, chin high. The truth, Mr. Hale. Your daughter deserves better than your empire's chains. He chuckled, wet and hollow. Truth? I built this from nothing. Fought unions, floods, whispers about my own. Indiscretions. A pause, eyes gleaming. Yes, girl. I knew men in my youth. Buried it deep. For legacy. Leora's gasp echoed. Father. Legacy's a lie. He continued, gaze softening fractionally. Ruins us all. Take the will, fight the vultures. But leave Monroe. This town's poison. Silence stretched, profound. He extended a trembling hand, not to her but me. Keep her safe. Or I'll haunt you both. We left dazed, his confession a seismic shift. In the truck, Leora wept grief release. He knew. All along. And hid like we did. I pulled over, holding her as sobs shook us. That night, lovemaking was tender, exploratory, mapping forgiveness in touches. But dawn brought war's next volley. The cousins filed suit, alleging Leora's moral turpitude invalidated her claim. Thomas as proxy, his mistress's Napa Glow funding the assault. The cafe teetered, repairs half done, customers thinning under pressure. Tessa cornered me one shift. Sell, Ari. Start fresh. Portland's got queer bars that need your brew. But selling felt like surrender. Leora echoed it, over map spread on my kitchen table. Vancouver? Or Eugene University crowd, progressive. Together, I agreed, but doubt gnawed. Mother's decline accelerated. By month's end, she slipped away quietly, her last breath a sigh of release. The funeral was small, rain-lashed graveside. Locals murmuring condolences laced with curiosity. Leora stood beside me, scarf around my neck now. A talisman against the void. After, in the empty bungalow, grief cracked us open. She saw us happy, Leora whispered, curled against me. That's enough. But the suit escalated. Depositions where Thomas's lawyers dredged our past, orchard trysts that shotgun night, painting us as deviants. Headlines in the local rag. Hale heiress's scandal rocks timber town. Protests outside Haven. Pickets with signs protect our values, countered by allies chanting love is local. Crisis peaked at the probate hearing, courthouse swarming. Leora testified, voice steady. My father chose me, flaws and all. This isn't about legacy. It's about control. Evidence mounted. His codicil witnessed, affirming her despite personal failings. The judge ruled in her favor, cousin slinking out defeated. Thomas lingered, face ashen. You win the scraps. But Monroe? It'll chew you raw. Elation surged but hollow. The cafe reopened to fanfare. Ribbon cutting with local brass band, but Mother's absence echoed in every empty chair. Leora and I celebrated quietly, toasting with her vineyard's best. To us, she said, eyes bright. Finally. Yet as winter crept in, frost-etching windows, fissures appeared. Leora's calls from Portland, estate wrangling, grew longer, her returns delayed. Just loose ends, she'd say, but fatigue lined her face. The city's pull evident in sharper suits, distant gaze. One night, wine loosening guards, truth spilled. Thomas offered a settlement. Half the vineyard if I distance myself. For appearances. My heart stuttered. And I refused. But it's tempting stability without the fight. Betrayal's whisper familiar. Is that what I am? The fight. No. She reached desperate. You're the reason. But God Ari the weight. We mended with urgency, bodies bridging words unspoken. But seeds sown doubt's quiet root. Spring thawed the valley blossoms defiant. We listed the Café, dreams shifting to Portland lofts. Closing day locals packed haven, stories swapped, toasts raised. Tessa hugged me fierce. Don't be a stranger. Monroe's better for you. On the road north, U-Haul trailing, Leora's hand in mine felt like victory. But her phone buzzed, Thomas conciliatory. One last talk? For old times. She silenced it, but the glance lingered. In Portland's haze our new café whisper and wick took shape, shelves groaning with books, buzz of queer poets filling evenings. Love bloomed anew, tentative shoots. Yet months in a letter arrived. Elias's final note to Leora alone. Choose the hard path. Or regret the easy. She shared it, tears falling. But that night, packing for a vineyard audit, she left the scarf behind. For safekeeping, she said. It was a sign small but seismic. And when she returned late, cologne faint on her collar. His not hers, the silence stretched, 10 years echo reborn. The cologne lingered like accusation, faint but unmistakable, threading through the steam of our Portland apartment as Leora unpacked her suitcase. I said nothing that night, folding her blouses with mechanical care, the fabric whispering secrets I dared not voice. Whisper and Wick thrived below. Our joint venture. A sunlit space in the Pearl District where baristas with tattoos slung fair trade roasts and open mic nights drew crowds hungry for stories like ours. But upstairs, in the loft's exposed beams and potted ferns, cracks spiderwebbed unseen. She'd been distant since the audit, late calls, vague texts about complications with the books. Thomas's shadow, I knew. His vineyard a hydra of entanglements. It's nothing, she'd murmur, pulling me close, her kisses a plaster over wounds reopening. But I remembered the scarf's absence, the way her eyes flicked to the door during our quiet dinners, as if expecting summons. Weeks blurred into routine. Mornings grinding beans, her law consults from home. Pro bono for immigrants, a nod to redemption. Evenings we'd walk the Willamette, bridges arching like promises, her hand in mine a public claim that turned heads in Monroe but blended here. Portland embraced us, pride flags fluttering from balconies, couples like ours sharing benches without a second glance. Freedom tasted like craft cider and possibility, yet doubt soured it. It crested one rainy Tuesday, her return from another meeting at the vineyard. I waited with takeout, pad thai from the Thai spot down the block, candles flickering against the chill. She breezed in, cheeks flushed, loosening her scarf, not mine, a silk thing from some client gift. Long day, she sighed, pecking my cheek before diving into explanations. Audits, leans, Thomas's charm offensive to smooth things over. Over. I echoed, fork pausing. Or under the table. Her laugh was forced, brittle. Ari, please. It's business. The kind that leaves his scent on you? The words escaped, sharp as shattered glass. She froze, fork midway, eyes widening in that telltale blend of guilt and defiance. It's nothing. A hug goodbye, that's all. But her voice wavered, the lie thin as mist. I stood chair scraping. Hug. Or the same old dance. Pretending for appearances while I wait in the wings. Tears welled, but anger flashed first. You think I want this? The vineyard's half mine. Father's last gift. Thomas dangles it like bait, knowing I'll bite to protect what we built. And what about us? Am I the price? Memories surged. Monroe's orchard, her hand slipping from mine under paternal glare. The letters burned in regret. 10 years ago you chose legacy. Don't make me the fool again. She rose, bridging the gap, hands on my arms. I chose you then in the end. Quit law, fought for this. Her voice cracked. But God, the pull, it's not just money. It's the part of me that still craves approval. The daughter who buried her heart to please. We collapsed onto the couch, her head on my shoulder, sobs muffled in my shirt. I'm scared, she whispered, of losing it all. Again. I held her throat tight, then let go. Together. Packed, renewed, fragile. We threw ourselves into the cafe, expanding the menu with her lavender-infused scones, nodding to Oregon's wilds, hosting workshops on queer history, drawing elders who shared tales of Stonewall echoes in Portland alleys. Life wove fuller. Brunches with Tessa, now a visiting artist. Weekend hikes in the gorge, waterfalls thundering absolution. But Thomas persisted, letters laced with nostalgia. Remember our Napa trips? We were good once. Leora shredded them, but fragments lingered, poisoning sleep. Mother's grave visits, drives south, wildflowers in hand, became my anchor, her stone a reminder. Live unbowed. Crisis ignited at summer's peak. A call shattering our anniversary dinner. Elias's old solicitor, voice grave. Contested codicil. Cousins unearthed a prior will, predating the amendment. Leaves everything to Thomas, if Leora's conduct deems her unfit. Her face drained. Conduct? They can't. Scandal clauses, Miss Hale. Your relationship publicized. It's leverage. Thomas's gambit ruthless. We lawyered up her old mentor, a silver-haired dyke who'd mentored half the city's activists. Depositions loomed, dredging dirt. Affidavits from Monroe gossips, photos blurred but damning from that town hall night. They're painting us as predators, Leora fumed, pacing the loft. Stealing innocence, corrupting legacy. And you? I asked, voice low. What do they say about you? She stopped, eyes haunted. The willing sinner. But it's me they want broken. The hearing sprawled over days. Courtroom, a coliseum of polished wood and veiled barbs. Thomas testified smooth. I loved her once. Wanted family. But this lifestyle? It destroys. Leora countered, unflinching. Love doesn't destroy. Hiding does. Father knew, chose grace over grudge. Honor that. Witnesses piled. Tessa on our cafe's heart. A Monroe farmer on Hale exploitations. Even Hargrove, the inspector, recanting under cross. Pressure from above. The judge, a woman with pride pinned discreet on her lapel, ruled swift. Codicil upheld, costs to challengers. Elation crashed like waves. Leora collapsing into me outside, reporters scattering. We won, she breathed. But victory's aftertaste was ash. Thomas cornered us in the hall, face gaunt. Enjoy it. But blood's thicker. She'll crawl back. Leora's slap echoed, red bloom on his cheek. Never. We fled to the coast, renting a cabin in Cannon Beach, waves a roar of release. Days blurred in salt air. Bonfires where we burned old letters, swims in frigid surf that shocked secrets loose. I choose you, she vowed, sand gritting our skin, stars wheeling overhead. Every time. Love reignited, fierce, nights tangled in flannel, mornings tracing freckles like constellations. Portland welcomed our triumph. Article in the Willamette Week, from timber shadows to city lights. A love story unchained. Yet autumn winds carried omens. Leora's migraines returned, stress, doctors said. Pills rattling in her purse. And the calls, vineyard managers pleading. Miss Hale, the harvest's at risk without oversight. She went reluctantly, day trips stretching to overnights. Just to stabilize, she'd say, scarf mine tucked in her bag. But returns grew wearier, her laughter forced. Betrayal brewed slow, a pot left too long. I found the first clue in laundry. A napkin, monogram TW, lipstick faint but fresh. Confrontation simmered unspoken, until a storm night, thunder rattling windows. She arrived soaked, eyes averted. With him? I asked, voice thunder's echo. She deflated, sinking to the floor. Talk turned to wine, to old times. One kiss, stupid, desperate. For the power, the pull of what was easy. Knife twist. And me? The hard road. Tears streamed. You're the truth. It's the lie I can't quit. Rage, grief, I stormed out, rain lashing, walking bridges till dawn. Portland's lights mocked. Freedom's illusion. Back home she waited, bags half-packed. Go, I said, hollow. Fix your ghosts. But she didn't. Knelt instead. No. I choose now. Therapy boundaries, whatever it takes. We rebuilt brick by painful brick. Counselors in neutral offices dissecting class wounds, shame's roots. Café events on resilience drew crowds, our story a beacon. Winter solstice under loft lights she returned the scarf. Mended fringes neat. Whole again. Like us. Spring brought bloom. Her vineyard sold piecemeal fund seating expansions, a community garden, scholarships for Monroe outliers. Thomas faded, remarried in Napa obscurity. Years layered softening edges. At 40 I poured lattes with silver in my hair. Leora, advocate now, fought for queer rights in Salem halls. Monroe receded, a scar faded but felt. One drizzly anniversary, back in that Oregon cafe, Haven Tessa's now we sipped scarf shared around our necks. 10 years silence, she toasted. Then lifetimes of song. Love I learned isn't absence of storm, but dancing in it unbroken. No, that wasn't the end. Redemption's arc bent, but didn't break clean. The therapy sessions peeled layers revealing not just Leora's lapses but my own. Walls built from mother's stoicism. Father's ghost urging self-reliance over vulnerability. You're hoarding hurt, our counselor said. A soft-spoken woman named Ray with tattoos of intertwined vines on her forearms. Like heirlooms. Time to air them out. We did in raw evenings over chamomile. My fear of abandonment, rooted in that trailer park youth. Her class guilt, the Hail Fortune a crown of thorns. Portland facilitated. Queer support groups in church basements. Hikes with packs of women sharing similar scars. Whisper and Wick evolved a hub. Book clubs dissecting Audre Lorde. Art shows of local lesbians capturing Willamette whispers. But ghosts persisted. Thomas's shadow manifested in dreams, his laugh mocking, or Elias's rasp urging flight. Leora's migraines worsened, scans revealing shadows. A tumor benign but pressing. Surgery loomed a cliff edge. What if? She whispered pre-op, hospital gown thin as fear. Then we face it, I said, holding her hand in pre-dawn sterile light. Like always. Recovery was glacial. Weeks of puzzles and physio, her speech slurring at first, my heart clenching with every stutter. I closed the cafe early, Tessa stepping up seamless. Nights I'd read to her. Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, Voices of the Outcast. Her head on my lap, fingers tracing my knee. Miracle held. By summer, she walked unaided, voice steady. Gratitude deepened intimacy. Slow dances in the loft to Joan Baez. Her body against mine, a map of survival. You saved me, she murmured once, post-rehab hike, overlooking the Columbia's gorge. We saved each other. Monroe called back, insidious. A letter from the cousins, olive branch or trap. Reconciliation dinner. For family healing. Leora wavered, legacy's siren song. One night. Closure. I nodded, trust's fragile thread. The estate gleamed under chandeliers, silver polished, but air thick with unspoken. Thomas attended, arm around a new wife, poised Napa bread. Toasts rang hollow. To mending fences. After port, he cornered her in the library, voice low. Still playing house? Portland's a phase. Comeback partner, not pawn. She emerged shaken, rebuffing his grasp. In the car south, tears flowed. He offered everything. Board seat, vineyard shares. Said you'd tire of the grind. And you. My grip whitened on the wheel. I walked. For us. But doubt seed sprouted, late nights scrolling job listings, her eyes distant. Fall harvest brought decision. A job offer from a Seattle firm, progressive, high profile. 6 months, she pitched over cider in our garden. Apples ripening like questions. Build credentials, then return stronger. 6 became 9. Calls sporadic, texts laced with exhaustion. Seattle's rain mirrored ours, but its pulse, tech sheen, activist fire pulled. Visits dwindled. Intimacy waned to video chats, her face pixelated, mine aching. Betrayal revisited, subtler. A photo shared in a group chat, Tessa's innocuous. Leora at a firm gala. Arm linked with a colleague, laughter bright. Caption, New Horizons. The woman. Elena, sharp-suited. Eyes on Leora like spotlights. Confrontation brewed over a Portland winter. Her return for holidays. I waited with lights strung, tree adorned in blue knots echoing the scarf. Dinner thawed ice. Stories of Seattle winds, cafe updates. But post-mistletoe kiss, truth cracked. You're drifting, I said, fire crackling. That photo, her arm, your smile. It's more. She sighed, wine glass swirling. Elena's a friend. Mentor. Nothing. Like Thomas's hugs? Venom slipped, regrettable. Ice flashed. You don't trust me. After everything. Trust erodes with distance. With choices. Voices rose, storming. My insecurities laid bare, her frustrations vented. Feeling caged anew, Portland's embrace too tight. She packed that night, not fully but enough. Space. To breathe. Months stretched, a new silence. Not 10 years void but intimate wound. Letters flowed, handwritten. Mine pouring fears, hers apologies woven with resolve. Therapy solo now, raise words echoing. Love's not possession. It's witness. Spring thawed resolve. I drove north unannounced, Seattle's spires piercing clouds. Found her in a waterfront cafe, Elena across, professional but charged. Leora spotted me, rising pale. Ari. Talk. We walked piers, ferries horn blasting. I came to fight. Or end it. She stopped, wind whipping hair. I love you. But Seattle's freedom. Unscripted, without Monroe's chains or Portland's memories. Elena. Its potential. New. Heart fractured. And us? Old love discarded. No. Foundation. Tears mingled with spray. Come with me. Or let me go fully. Choice loomed abyss deep. I chose release, driving south alone, rain cleansing. Divorce papers followed, amicable. Cafe half hers, loft mine. Final meeting, neutral ground, a Eugene diner midway. She looked radiant, unburdened. I hollow but whole. Regrets? She asked, coffee steaming. None. You taught me love's wild, not walled. Scarf exchanged, hers now mended twice. Years diverged. Her Seattle firm shattering glass ceilings. Elena a partner in life and law. Mine Portland rooted. Whisper and Wick a landmark. Expansions to sister spots in Eugene Bend. Tessa co-owned our brunch's ritual. Monroe faded to visits. Elias's grave tended, mother's stone blooming. I dated, women with artists' hands, activists' fire but none rooted deep. Love as seasons, not forever. 1 decade later, 20 years from that cafe door, fate circled. Pride parade, Portland streets rainbow veined. I marched banner high, love unsilenced. Crowd parted. There she was, Leora, arm in arm with Elena, faces alight. Our eyes met, time folding. Hugs exchanged, stories swapped. Her twins adopted. My nonprofit training baristas from margins. Happy? She asked, voice soft. Free, I replied. You. Same. Scarf peeked from her bag, freight eternal. We parted, streams merging then diverging. No regret, only grace. Love's lesson. Not possession but the courage to walk, back in or onward. Scarves and silences woven into self. In Monroe's shadow, Portland's light, I poured on. Cups of connection, lives stirred. After 10 years silence, 20 more song, mine unbroken. Epilogues not tidy bows, but echoes lingering like rain on evergreens. 5 years post-parade, a call pierced autumn quiet. Leora's voice cracked. Elena left. Scandal, firm politics. I'm adrift. I listened, no judgment. Come south. Coffee. No strings. She arrived at dawn, scarf clutched like lifeline. Seattle's polish softened by defeat. We walked the Willamette. Leaves carpeting paths in gold decay. I thought I'd learned, she confessed. But patterns repeat, chasing approval, fearing alone. Alone's not empty, I said, arm brushing hers. It's space to grow. No rekindling, not then. But doors cracked. Weekends shared, her sublet nearby. Therapy tandem again. Ray retired but referrals warm. Cafe collaborations, her pop-ups. Lavender lattes nodding to roots. Monroe pulled once more. Estate final sale proceeds to land trust. Reforesting clear cuts, a hail redemption. At closing, cousins civil, Thomas absent. Napa recluse, vines his only companions. Father to prove, one murmured, begrudging. Back in Portland life layered gentle. Leora dated cautiously, a poet then a teacher, while I mentored my heart a garden not fortress. One solstice eve bonfire on the beach she turned. If I asked again? I paused, flames dancing in her eyes. Only if equals. No ghosts. Equals we became. Partners in quiet ways. Shared hikes, joint events at the Café. Marriage. No fanfare, just vows whispered over espresso. Rings simple pewter. Twins visited summers calling me Aunt Ari. Their laughter orchard fresh. Challenges came. My arthritis in hands pores slowing, her empty nest pangs. But we navigated, counselors and friends our compass. Tessa's wedding to a woodworker with kind eyes. Saw us toasting, scarves twinned. At 50 reflections deepened. A book emerged, mine co-authored. Brewed from silence. Queer Lives in the Northwest. Leora's foreword. 10 years quiet taught me volumes worth. Launch night, packed house. Portland luminaries, Monroe exiles. Readings flowed, orchards, cafes, kisses in rain. Q&A turned personal. Regrets? None, I said. Love's mosaic, broken, beautiful. Leora squeezed my hand under the podium. And silence? It's where stories start. After Loft Aglow we danced slow to old jazz, bodies familiar, souls synced. Back into the cafe, she murmured. Wearing your scarf. Mine now, I replied, pulling her close. Ours. Dawn broke misty, Willamette whispering onward. Monroe's echoes faded, Portland's song sustained. After 10 years silence, lifetime's harmony, human, flawed, free. In that freedom message clear. Society's chains rust with time, but hearts? They weave eternal, thread by resilient thread. Choose the weave always. The cup overflows. The weave held, but life's loom frays edges. At 55, Leora's health faltered. Not the tumor's ghost, but heart's quiet betrayal. Arrhythmia, whispers of valves worn from storms weathered. Irony, she joked in the cardiologist's office, monitors beeping steady. The one that beat for you skips now. Surgery scheduled. Portland's hospital's a familiar foe. I cleared calendars, Tessa helming the cafe seamless. Pre-op vigil. Her hand in mine, surgeon's diagrams blurring through tears. If not, she started. You will. Firm but fears undercurrent chilled. Recovery was maze. Rehab floors echoing steps, diets bland as regret. I read aloud, new voices, Arundhati Roy's Gods of Small Things, her laughter returning slow. Twins flew in, their presence a whirlwind. Board games, beach picnics, questions probing. How'd you know? Back then. Leora glanced at me, eyes soft. Felt it. Like gravity pulling home. Fall brought stabilization, walks resuming shorter but shared. Café adapted. Her advisory role, recipes etched in menus. Community rallied. Fundraisers massed as poetry slams, proceeds to heart foundations. Yet shadows lengthened, personal. Dreams haunted. Monroe's shotgun night, Elias's rasp, Thomas's leer. Therapy unearthed. Survivor's guilt. For joy's post-loss. You carry us all, Ray's successor said. A young non-binary therapist with piercings like stars. Time to set down. Setting down meant return. Monroe pilgrimage joint. The town transformed. Microbreweries on Main, pride flags on porches. Our story mythologized in local lore. Haven Brew thrived under Tessa. Chalkboard tribute. To Ari and Leora. First sips of courage. At Mother's grave, wildflowers laid. We made it, Mom. Elias's stone nearby, moss-cloaked. Forgiven, Leora whispered. Closure partial. Back north, renewal. Vow renewal intimate. Clifftop in Oregon, waves crashing below. Officiant queer elder. Rings exchanged anew. In silence and song, we pledged. Years stacked gentle. 60s dawned. My hair silver cascade, Leora's curls threaded gray. Cafes franchised. Bend Outpost, Seattle nod. Mentoring marginalized youth behind counters. Leora's advocacy peaked. State bill, protections for elder queers, her testimony riveting. We hid decades. No more. Bill passed champagne toasts. Twins married, one to a barista weed-trained cycles poetic. Illness circled back mine this time diagnosis breast early. Leora's vigil mirrored fierce. Your turn to fight, she said, post-mastectomy tracing scars. I knit the scarf. You wear it. Remission came swift, gratitude profound. Travel beckoned. Road trip east, Badlands vastness echoing freedom's one. National parks, queer histories unearthed. Stonewall plaques, frontier outposts. 70s whispered. Slowdowns graceful. Loft downsized, garden cottage and hills, herbs thriving, bees humming. Grandkids toddled, stories spun. Once two women loved against odds. Legacy solidified. Foundation launched. Scholarships for rural LGBTQ+ entrepreneurs. Monroe chapter. Annual retreat, our cabin host. Orchards regrown, dialogues healing. At 80 frailty crept tandem. One autumn leaves gold, Leora faltered, stroke sudden. Hospital again but peace settled. Lived full, she murmured, my hand clasped. She slipped gentle, scarf folded on her chest. Grief tidal but buoyed by throng. Memorials in Portland, Monroe stories shared, toasts raised. Alone? No. Echoes suffice. Her laugh in wind, scarf on my neck. Cafés endure, whispers of us in every pore. After 10 years silence, eternity's verse. Love, society's human. Break chains, weave on. The heart, resilient, sings. Word count, 1001. Final threads. Legacies not endpoints but ripples. Post Leora, Portland paled briefly, loft empty, echoes loud. But community cradled. Tessa's daily checks, twins visits with wee ones tugging my skirt. Tell us more, Nana Ari. Stories flowed. Café bells, rainy kisses, scarves mended thrice. Writings poured, memoir sequel, scarves of silence. Echoes endure. Bestseller modest but impact vast. Readings in Seattle where Elena attended, eyes wet. She spoke of you always. Monroe returned seasonal. Haven's anniversary, my keynote. Love defies. So must we. Youth listen, eyes bright, mirrors of our youth. Aging graced. 90s sharp, cane-carved paths in garden. Grandkids baked, lavender scones her recipe. Flower-dusted cheeks echoing orchards. Departure neared serene. Hospice home, windows valley view. Twins bedside, Tessa reading Whitman. Gather the leaves, I whispered, scarf last touch. Fade peaceful into mist. After 10 years silence, lifetime's chorus. Mine woven in others. Message eternal. In mending find might. Love unchained lights the way.